Welcome once again to Coach Steele's Finance Training on today. Good morning to everyone. Of course, you already know it is Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone, and this is when I go live. And here I'm Coach Steele, your host, and we talk about all things financial literacy. And so, welcome to Coach Steele's Finance Training on today, ladies and gentlemen. I am live on YouTube and live on Facebook. And of course, if you are tuning in on today, whether you're on Facebook or whether you are on YouTube, make sure you jump in the comment section and say hello to me. Make sure you greet me, tell me good morning. And so we will still your host get this party started on today. All right, we're here at Coach Steele's Finance Training. You see the subject that we're talking about, and it should be an interesting topic. And we talk about all things financial literacy, different subject matter, different topics, different thought processes, investing, different asset classes, the basics, budgeting, financial literacy. But no matter where you are, what scale you are when it comes to financial literacy, hopefully we can help hit that mark, scratch that itch. And so let's get the party started. We're talking about, will Trump abolish the IRS? So this is something that's going on, and we'll dive into it. That way we can look and see what's going on. I'm interested in your thoughts about what's going on with the government. It is a lot of things happening right now, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of things going on as far as what's going on with the government in America. So I'll be interested to hear your thoughts and comments as we travel along this journey on today. And so, as we get this party started, I see Mr. Tony Sherman already in the comment section. Good morning to you. And so, as you all are tuning in, if you have an opportunity, if you're not driving, feel free to jump in the comment section when we talk about this subject matter. Once again, I am Coach Steele and I am your host. And if you're a first time visitor, make sure you go and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Coach Steele's Finance Training. All right, so will Trump abolish the IRS? Interesting subject. Of course, we're in the month of October. There's a lot of things going on right now. We got some people getting ready to celebrate the October holidays and festivities and all that brings. And then we also have Thanksgiving coming up, or whatever you call that holiday or special day for you and your family. And so there's going to be a lot of people traveling. There's a lot of people, potentially looking to buy groceries. But at the same time, we have people being laid off. And of course, the IRS, a lot of people are being laid off with the IRS. Then we have a lot of people dealing with furloughs. So how do you handle the holidays with furloughs happening? People are being laid off, government shut down, you have the furloughs. Do you rush and go buy all of this stuff to travel? Or do you use a little wisdom and kind of stay where you are right now, because you never know how long you may need that dollar to stretch? Good morning to my lovely wife, Yvette Steele. Thank you for tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training. So when we talk about, will the President Donald Trump, abolish the IRS, the reason why I asked that is because of the events that we see going on. And so I'm going to read a few articles. That way I can share my logic with you all and where I'm coming from when I ask that question. And so we can also be on the same page. So should be a pretty interesting topic on today. And if what I also want to dig into and look at is, if he does abolish the IRS, then what are the consequences of that too? Does it benefit you or does it not benefit you? And so those are some of the things that we want to look at as well. What are the consequences? And, does that mean we pay taxes? And if we don't pay taxes as before, then what do we do? All right, so let's see what we have here. See if I can share my screen with you. We'll start with this one. All right. As you're looking at this article, it says Trump has a plan to abolish the IRS forever. Here are 5 crucial things it could mean for your money. Now, we're not going to go over all 5 things that it could mean for your money, because we have other things to cover. But this is something I just want you all to look at. Of course, it says after rushing to file your taxes before April 15th deadline, the fantasy of living in a world without internal revenue services might feel especially tempting. And so it's certainly on the mind of President Donald Trump, who wants to abolish the IRS, according to Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Given this administration's history and bold and sometimes outlandish ideas, from threatening to use of force, as you all see all of that, let's scroll. Here's how Trump and his allies in Congress are already taking steps to dismantle the National Tax Agency and what that could mean for your finances. All right, so Trump's plan. The Trump administration has already taken tangible steps to disrupt the IRS, according to the Associated Press. The agency has seen 3 leadership changes in a single week and is expected to lose, check this out, 10,000 of employees due to layoffs and voluntary retirement offers. Abolishing the IRS entirely, however, poses a major challenge. How would the government fund its operations? Well, Trump and Lutnick have proposed that tariffs, anybody surprised by that? That tariffs collected through a newly formed external revenue agency, ERA, instead of IRS, could replace the IRS. Let all the outsiders pay, Lutnick said on Fox News. This gets interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because if outsiders pay taxes and we don't have to, then of course, I think everyone would love that. But here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. It says, but the math doesn't add up. In 2023, the U.S. imported $3.1 trillion worth of goods, but collected about $2 trillion in personal and corporate income taxes. According to Peterson Institute for International Economics, it's literally impossible for tariffs to fully replace income taxes. The math isn't mathing. In that comment section, just put the math isn't mathing. Republicans in Congress are proposing an alternative plan, replacing income tax with a national sales tax. Representative Earl Buddy Carter introduced the Fair Tax Act of 2025, which calls for a tax inclusive rate of 23% beginning in 2027 tax year. So as we see, even though it looks like they want to implement something, it may not be a good idea after all, even though he has a plan to abolish. So clearly the math isn't math, and some numbers are going to have to change there, and they're going to have to come up with a better idea. And the reason why I read some of these articles to you is so that you can see for yourself. Here at Coach Steele's Finance Training, I'm not making it up, but I'm reading some articles here. Good morning to you, Shauna Johnson. Thank you for tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training on today, as we're talking about the subject of, will Trump abolish the IRS? Now, from that first article that we see that he's taking measures and steps to make adjustments with the IRS and who's in leadership and who's on staff. And so there's a lot of changes going on. But once again, if we are going to try and get tariffs to pay for taxes in America, honestly, I'm not against it. If I don't have to pay taxes, then great. Especially if we can get some outside source to do it. Good morning to you, Mr. Timothy Scott. Happy to have you tuning in here on Coach Steele's Finance Training. So it looks like they want to reclassify and make a new type of agency. So clearly, maybe, the IRS have rubbed President Trump the wrong way, because usually if you come for him when he's in position of power, he will find a way to potentially reciprocate that same energy towards you. So let's go a little bit further here on this subject of, one, will he do it? What steps Trump has done so far in changing what the IRS looks like, and what are the effects for all of us if the IRS is abolished? So thank you for tuning in here on Coach Steele's Finance Training. If you're tuning in, make sure you can share your live if you choose to. And I appreciate it if you share your live. That way we can share this content and information of financial literacy with other people. I think this is a very important subject that we're talking about here. And so when we look at this, let's go to another article. Article number 2 today. Yeah, y'all didn't know we're doing some reading. The IRS has had six leaders in 2025. What does that mean for taxpayers? I mean, if you had 6 leaders in 2025, that's a lot of turnover as it is already. Turnover at the top of the IRS means fewer IRS agents, fewer audits, and questions about implementing the new tax law. Man, okay, let's go deeper. All right, the IRS is on its 7th commissioner of the year, has lost, check this out, 1/4 of its staff, and is faced with implementing a raft of new regulations. Whether and how this turmoil could affect Americans remains to be seen. But the first effects are likely to be lowered tax collections and a harder time getting answers to tax-related questions, according to a former commissioner and policy analyst. Now, let's look at this. You can be fairly confident of the direction of the impact that having this level of instability is not good for IRS core functions and for taxpayer service. It's going to affect us there. Now, this level of instability coinciding with the implementation of a new set of tax laws, that is a dangerous mix. The IRS got its 7th leader of the year, August 8th, when President Donald Trump tapped Treasury Secretary Scott as its temporary head, removing Commissioner Billy Long. So as you see here, Trump has ousted Long after 53 days on the job, giving him the shortest tenure of any Senate-approved IRS commissioner. So Trump got him up out of there. Now, of course, you would have to dig deeper to see why he got them out of there. But there's been instability with the IRS. Clearly, Donald Trump is not happy with them. And so let's go a little bit further. But I do want you to see that there are changes happening. He's not happy with them. And also what you'll find out is about 1,300, I believe it's 1,300 people from the IRS have been fired. Imagine that, 1,300 people from the IRS have been fired, laid off. So what does that mean for us? And what does that mean for us if the IRS no longer exists? Will they implement a new institution, organization, and will people, as we saw in the first article, are tariffs going to handle paying the taxes for the American people? This article here says, let's see here, Forbes says Trump fires thousands in shutdown layoffs, hitting Treasury and health departments hardest. Here's what to know. And what I want some of y'all to start thinking about as you're tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training is, what would you do with that money that you don't pay in taxes? What are you going to do with that money? How are you going to spend it? How are you going to invest it? I want your wheels to be turning right now of what would you do with the money that comes out of your paycheck for taxes? What would you do if he could truly implement something where you no longer pay taxes? The federal government began laying off thousands of employees Friday as part of a mass reduction in force tied to government shutdowns. Layoff notices were sent to about 4,200 employees across 8 government agencies. The Office of Management and Budget said in court documents in response to a lawsuit filed by the American Federal of Government Employees, the largest federal employee union. See, the union is getting ready to take action, which represents almost 1 million people, 800,000 workers. Nearly 1,500 Treasury Department employees were laid off, according to OMB, including, like I told you all earlier, 1,300 were workers at the IRS. the Health and Human Service Department, who also among the agencies hit hardest with OMB reporting layoffs up to 1,200. So my point is, these people are out of the way. They've lost their jobs. And when you look at jobs, good paying jobs, as we see, y'all can see some of the other stuff, education, housing, commerce, energy, things like that. What happens is when good paying jobs with good benefits are lost by the American people, it does have an effect on the economy. That's something I want you all to think about, because all of those jobs that people have, if they have retirement plans, their funds were going into the marketplace by way of their 401ks, 403bs, 457, TSPs, all those different retirement packages are connected and tied to the stock market in some way. So if that money is no longer flowing there because there's been mass job loss, it's going to have an effect on the market. And if people are worried about losing their jobs and being liquid and having money, they may have to adjust how much they're putting into the market slash their retirement funds. And I'm showing you all this for a purpose so that you can open your minds, prepare yourself, and understand that soon and very soon, there's going to be a very good opportunity. Why? Because the market is going to take potential dips. People are going to have to sell assets to survive. People are going to have to sell assets and wealth to maintain themselves during difficult times, potentially, because many people do not manage their money, manage their wealth and things that they have properly, or unexpected events happen. So they need to come off some of those things that are no longer needed and they're not necessities. When that happens, people usually end up having to sell something below the price of which they bought something. In other words, I'm telling you that deals, opportunities may come along soon if you are liquid and if you are prepared to recognize deals and opportunities. So if the market does take a dip, ladies and gentlemen, it might be a great time to invest money if a dip is going to occur, because usually over a period of time, it will recover, it will go back up. Now, of course, my heart goes out to those people that have lost their jobs, people who are dealing with furloughs, not sure when they'll get paid again. All of this foolishness that is going on, my heart goes out to these different families and loved ones. And I'm interested in your thoughts about the whole furlough. What if the IRS is abolished and there's no longer any taxes to pay? What would you do with that extra money? I want to hear your thoughts in that comment section as you share this live. If we're talking about financial literacy here on Coach Steele's Finance Training, I want to hear your thoughts. What if you no longer had to pay taxes again because tariffs were taking care of the taxes? Interesting topic. Of course, I read an article where they did the numbers, and mathematically right now, it doesn't look like it would be possible for these tariffs to take care of or pay for the taxes. And of course, here on Coach Steele's Finance Training, I like to talk about being financially savvy, making smart moves. With all of this going on, be careful during the holidays. Don't overspend. Don't have a status quo bias where you feel like you have to buy or purchase certain things or travel to see family, because if you don't, someone may feel a type of way, or you may look like you're struggling financially. No, you have to do what's best for you. Okay, so Yvette Steele said one thing you can do if you no longer had to pay the IRS, if you no longer had to pay taxes, you could pay off debt. So that's something you could do. What else could you do if you no longer had to pay taxes because tariffs were taking care of it and the IRS is abolished? What is something else you could do with that money? Anybody have any other ideas of what you would do with that extra money? All right, we have someone in the comment section. Mr. Tim Scott says, yeah, I'm working for free right now, but I thank God I make great decisions with my money. And so this is another example of real life. Like this is impacting people, and it can be seen as difficult. You're going to work, not sure if you're going to get paid or not getting paid at all. And if I was a supervisor right now, I would be very cautious and very lenient with my employees and just try to be understanding as possible. Because as a supervisor, you're still giving out orders, you're still giving out information of things to be executed. But you have to keep in mind that you're dealing with people who aren't even potentially getting paid ever, or not getting paid, or maybe laid off. And so you have to be very sensitive to that and try to your best to be understanding. Now, of course, we got Tony Sherman saying you can invest that extra money. And that's something I would look at doing, is invest. Yes, Mr. Tony Sherman, you hit the nail on the head. I'm going to take that extra money if I don't have to pay taxes, and I'm going to make more investments in opportunities to create some more passive income for myself. Because as we invest and we set ourselves up for success, when the furloughs come, when thousands of jobs are and people are laid off and things like that, if you have invested and created other opportunities for yourself to make money outside of your 9 to 5, then it can help sustain you and hold you over while you look for another opportunity, another job, or become an entrepreneur or become a business owner. That way you can control whether or not you fire yourself. There's so many great things that you can do with that extra money. So that's one of the things that I would look at doing. Now, as we go a little bit further, it made me think about something. If President Trump could potentially abolish the IRS and have success from it, then what else could he potentially get rid of? In that comment section, I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Things that come out of your paycheck that you would have to pay out of your paycheck. What's something else that comes out of our paycheck every month before we receive those direct deposits, before we receive that net income? What's something else that comes out of the check of a lot of Americans? Let's see if anybody can think of what I'm thinking about. Tim Scott says, yes, that part, investment. What else do we have that comes out of the paycheck before we receive income? Tim Scott says state tax. What's something else that comes out? Tony Sherman is in the zone right now. He's on fire today. Yes, Social Security. Far as politics, Republicans, Democrats, independent, all this left, right, up, down, sideways. What if they would love to get rid of Social Security as well? It goes back to my thought process of why it is so important for us to invest. So let me share my screen one more time, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see here. So when it comes to Social Security, let's see if I can move some of this stuff out of the way. When it comes to Social Security, we see 15.3%. FICA, I'm sure many of you have seen FICA before. Many of you have had to deal with FICA. Some of you, FICA is not your friend. Or the Federal Insurance Contributions Act, tax. Some of you didn't know what FICA meant or stood for, the acronym, but now you know. Federal Insurance Contribution Act tax. It is a payroll tax that funds Social Security and Medicare. It is automatically withheld from employee paychecks, automatically. Total 15.3% of wages, with employees paying 7.65% and employers matching that amount. FICA taxes are essential for providing benefits to retirees, disabled individuals, and survivors of deceased workers. The tax is composed of two parts: Social Security tax and Medicare tax, which are used to support these federal programs. So my thought process is it possible? Now, you saw the articles that I showed you all earlier, if you all were tuning in here on Coach Steele's finance training, where it shows that Trump may be potentially trying to abolish abolish the IRS and replace people having to pay taxes with tariffs. Now, we've read all three of those articles. We've seen that thousands of people were laid off. And so, with all of that happening, if it is possible to abolish IRS, what will they go for next? And it goes back to my point of the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I want you all to understand why it is important to invest and why it is also important to eliminate debt. Because once again, I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your concerns and your comments on this, because if we don't pay taxes anymore, yay, that's great. But you gotta take that money and put it in the right places. Be disciplined every month consistently, or whenever you can. Everyone doesn't get paid monthly. Some people have contract jobs and they may only get paid seasonally. But whenever you get income, you need to pay your future self first. Listen to what I'm saying again. Pay your future self first. In other words, put money in your pocket for now and put money in your pocket for later. And so, as you all are looking at all of this, and you understand that what if the IRS is abolished and you no longer pay taxes, then you need to start investing and start looking at different asset classes to invest in. Now, once again, opportunities may come if the stock market is dropping because the job loss is heavy and furloughs and people can't pay into the market, or people are pulling back how much they're putting in there monthly and things like that are happening. Then you may be able to sit back, wait for an opportunity to buy low. Now, some people would tell you don't time the market, just do DCA, dollar cost average, every month, no matter what's happening, no matter what's going on. But I understand, and I agree with DCA, but I would also tell you to start watching for certain companies that if they dip too low and you know they're going back up, then there's nothing wrong with being wise and throwing some money in there for it to go up. And so here's an interesting question that I probably don't know the answer to, but let's engage. What is Roth and how does that match our TSP? What's the conversion? We need help with what to do with the TSP. So one thing I would say, and I always tell everyone when I'm talking on here, I'm not anyone's financial advisor. Make sure you go get professional help and assistance. And so when we deal with the Roth, and you're talking about an IRA, Latanya, and thank you for tuning in on this morning. You always come with amazing questions, and that's why I love this engagement in our community. You're talking about a Roth IRA. So I like Roth IRAs for certain reasons and purposes. A Roth IRA, Latanya, you put the money in the Roth. So whenever you transfer money into a Roth IRA, whenever, that's of course putting contributions in, whenever you receive distributions, whenever you get to finally take money out, whenever you hit 59 and a half or whatever age it is, when you get that money out, it is non-taxable income. And that's why I like Roth IRAs, because whatever you get, you're not paying taxes when you receive those distributions from that Roth IRA. And so when you talk about the current TSP that you have in place, I'm guessing that you have an opportunity, or someone maybe has presented the opportunity to be able to transfer the funds from the TSP into the Roth. And so I think what I would ask, just to make sure with whoever is the financial advisor or whoever is guiding you through this process, are there any fees or penalties when I move this TSP to a Roth? And is it possible? And so I see you ask, you say, so then does that mean we can move our TSP into a Roth? I would try to find out. Now, that would be interesting, because my guess is if you start receiving distributions from a TSP in the future, I don't know if that's taxable or not. My guess is it probably is. So that's something you want to find out. But yes, can it be transferred into a Roth? I would try to find that out. And that's interesting because it's probably been growing without being taxed. Hmm. So the government would want to get it taxed because with a Roth, it's seen as money that has never been taxed. I'm sorry, with a Roth, it's seen as money that was already taxed. So that's why you don't get taxed with a Roth on the way out because they believe that it's money that was already taxed on the way in with the Roth. But I always tell everyone here at Coach Steele's Finance Training, if you think about it, whether someone does lawn care, whether they clean windows, whatever it is, wash boats, babysitting, if you're making money and people are paying you in cash and you take that money and put it in your Roth, when you pull it out, it's not taxed, but it may not have been taxed on the way in. So do the math. Some of you that are veterans that receive VA/VA retirement, it's non-taxable income. If you're putting it in your Roth, do the math. It's possible for the money to grow where it's never taxed. You receive distributions if that's the route you choose to go, right? But some of you may decide to not just invest in Roths. You may decide to invest in real estate or other commodities. So anyway, so let's go a little bit further. I see someone says yes. So I would definitely see if it is possible to convert into a Roth. And if you do convert it into a Roth, are there any fees or any penalties or anything like that? Is it something you could potentially do on your end, or do you need a professional to do it? And if they do it, are they charging you a certain fee annually to manage your account? And so there's different things you probably can convert in. I'm not a professional on that, but there are some other things that people convert TSPs into as well that may be beneficial for some people. I would do research on it. I would look up Roth IRAs. I would do research on annuities and what they are, FIAs. I would look up every potential option. Awesome. She says she'll ask. We have a financial meeting on the 31st. And so if this is a financial advisor, I would do research on what a financial advisor is supposed to do. How does it benefit a financial advisor? So you can kind of see how it reciprocates what they're doing for you, what you want them to do for you, and also how do they benefit from it as well. And of course, I don't expect them to work for free, but at least you'll know how it benefits them. Because once you get a financial advisor and they are managing your account and things like that, you want to see what's the flexibility. What if later on I want to move this from here or do that? And another thing I would do as well, Latanya, there's another reason why I like a Roth IRA, but I really want you to do your own due diligence about this as well. I like having my money flexible. So there's certain financial tools that I enjoy using to my benefit. And I'll give an example. The Roth IRA is one because, and I don't know if the rules have changed, whatever my base amount is that I put into a Roth IRA, let's say every month I put $100 in a month for a whole year. The base amount that I invested was total for a year would be $1,200 because it was $100 a month. Now, if it's invested in the market or it makes interest and it grows, let's say my $1,200 becomes $1,500 now. So if my Roth IRA value is $1,500, that means I profited $300, but I put in $1,200 as my base amount. So what I want you to do is ask that advisor, whatever the base amount in your Roth IRA is, if an emergency happens or something comes up or you find a good investment, is it possible to pull that base amount out if you need it without any fees or without any penalties? Because if that is so, it gives you flexibility to still have access to the funds. I'm not saying pull money from your retirement account. I'm just saying, what if somebody wants to sell you a house for $15,000, but it's worth $100,000, and you may not have $15,000 in your savings account, or even if you did, you don't want to touch it. What if you got 15,000 sitting in the Roth, but you're a Roth because let's say your Roth IRA is worth, I don't know, $60,000, but 15,000 of it is your base amount you put in. You could take that 15,000 out, buy that house that's worth $100,000. Now, if you sell it, make a profit, rent it out, whatever the case may be, replace the 15,000 you took out the Roth if you wanted to, and now you have another asset. And so that asset could be growing, that house and your Roth could be growing, and now you're making your money multitask. And so I like to be creative with finding ways to make my money multitask as much as I can. Because in America, whether you have two-person income, one-person income, you have to be creative with letting your money multitask. It's something that I preach to everyone as much as I can. It is extremely important because if you don't, it is more difficult as you get later on in life and you're trying to prep and plan for retirement to be able to retire comfortably. And so I talk about making your money multitask so much that I had to go ahead and make a t-shirt. So if y'all ever go to my website, you have the opportunity to patronize and buy a Make Money Multitask t-shirt. I won't stay here long because I have a few more things I need to cover, but you can definitely go to that website, all of you all that are tuning in on today, and buy a Make Money Multitask t-shirt. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. And yes, they do come in different colors. So find the color you like. Bada boom, bada bang. All right, let's keep going. Now, I did get stuck on that Roth IRA. Like I said, I like them. They're flexible. I know some people are very picky about, even with like the type of real estate, not real estate, insurance that they get. Some people will get whole life insurance. Some people will get term insurance. As long as you have some type of insurance, get it. And if you do get whole life insurance, make sure you have a strategy behind why you do it and what you could potentially do with it, or potentially find an asset that pays for the whole life insurance so you're not physically having to use your 9-to-5 income to pay for it. That's another story for another day. So I'm interested in y'all's thoughts. What would you do if you no longer had to pay taxes because Trump abolishes the IRS and has tariffs pay for the taxes, which we saw in that article that I wrote. And so definitely I want you all to start thinking about that, because what if it becomes a real thing? And like I told you all earlier, what if they then attack Social Security and say you no longer pay into that? You need to have something else set up, just like Latanya have on here, a TSP or a Roth or whatever. You need to have some type of retirement plan and strategy in place, which is why the past few weeks I went over FFD and FFN, your financial retirement, your future financial number, and financial freedom number and financial freedom date. I went over both of those in our last videos, because you need to know what your financial freedom number is. How much money do you need to have coming in every month without you having a regular 9-to-5 to be able to pay for your bills? Once you know that number, you can implement a plan. And when you start executing that plan, whether it's through real estate, whether it's through retirement accounts, whatever it is, whether it's through dividend stocks, if it's owning a business, if you're selling t-shirts, whatever it is, you need to have a business or a plan that can bring in that money monthly. And so once you know that number, you can project the date by seeing what it takes to get to that number. Today, I don't have time to go over the 4% rule with your retirement accounts, but we will go over that, and I'll put a video out so you all can understand what the 4% rule is. But basically, whatever amount is in your retirement account, financial advisors are going to tell you to only draw maybe about 4% annually. So whatever's in that retirement account, multiply it times 4, then divide that by 12. That's what you may be receiving potentially monthly. And when you look at that, you'll be able to see, is that enough for me to retire off of monthly? So If you want more information about that, definitely go back and watch some of the videos when I talked about the 4% rule and your financial freedom date and your financial freedom number on the YouTube channel, Coach Steele's Finance Training. We may have covered everything for today. I'm going to do a quick run through real quick. We talked about the effects on the market. And I did tell you all that I believe because of the furloughs, because of the layoffs, because of the interest rates being at where they are, the average people and also people who have wealth, especially in real estate, commercial real estate, I believe people are going to have to start selling off certain assets because times are becoming so difficult that these assets are now becoming liabilities to them. It's becoming too much to have to manage, too much to have to maintain. And so, if you are liquid and if you're flexible right now, you may be in an opportunity to acquire assets that can give you a boost and help you create generational wealth, create passive income, whether it's through the stock market, real estate, you name it, businesses. People are going to start selling things to be able to compensate for where they are short in these next few months as time gets difficult. People are now just having to start to hit their reserves if they're not getting income. Now, I always teach here on Coach Steele's Finance Training, make sure you have about 3 to 6 months worth of reserves and also create passive income opportunities so you can have money coming in every month for moments like these. If you have created these things and set some of this stuff up, then it won't be as difficult for you to maintain yourself and hold on while times are difficult. But if you haven't set some of these things up, you may have to go right to your reserves or your emergency fund a little bit sooner. And so Latanya says, so you're saying this is a good time to invest? Earlier, what I was saying, Latanya, is I think there's going to be, now with that question, it's broad, and most people and investors will say it's always a great time to invest. There's never a bad time to not invest. And one of the things I said earlier was it's always safe to DCA, dollar cost average, no matter what's going on with the market. Don't try to time the market. Don't try to beat the market. But far as investing and is it a good time now, I believe times are so difficult right now that the market and other asset classes are going to take a dip in value and people are going to have to sell. And it's going to be more of a buyer's situation where buyers have the power and not so much people who are selling businesses, people who got to sell in the marketplace. People are in the middle of trying to retire and things are volatile, things are crazy. They're not getting paid. But how can I retire if I'm not getting paid? All of these different scenarios, I think greater opportunities to invest in different asset classes are coming, but we just hit the first wave of resistance. And I believe some people, business owners, investors have enough to hold them over right now. So in the next few months, I think it's going to get a little more difficult and there will be great opportunities coming to invest. Just my opinion. But there's always a great time to invest like every single day, depending on what type of deals you're looking for and what type of deals are out there. As far as the stock market, I haven't studied it and examined it of where it's at right now today. I know crypto took a hit the past 2 weeks. It took a bad, I think a week and a half, 2 weeks, took a hit, dipped down. I don't know if anybody's interested in crypto and the volatility there. Trump put out a tweet about China and tariffs. And when he did that, Bitcoin flew down, took a dip. Now, a lot of people are going to buy in that dip. So when it goes back up, it's profitable, whatever crypto that they like or enjoy. But definitely do your homework and your due diligence there. I believe if thousands of people are being laid off and they aren't investing into their retirement accounts because their job, their income is stopped, I do believe that the market will take a dip. Just me using the logic of less jobs, less money flowing into the market. Without reading any lines or any charts or anything, I'm just going to use common sense and see what happens. But regardless, dollar cost average, but examine certain companies because you may find great opportunities to dump some money in a company that took an unusual dip and is potentially going to rebound back. You may be able to away with some extra change. But other than that, guys, y'all did an awesome job today. When we talk about, is the IRS going to maintain itself? Will Trump abolish the IRS? Once again, if he does, then no taxes. If no taxes, we got to be creative with where we invest. There may be some things that you want to do. Of course, y'all know I love real estate. I'm always looking for real estate deals. And who knows, my next deal and opportunity, I'm going to find someone who might be in distress and wants to sell a small apartment complex. And if they want to sell an apartment complex, then guess what? I'm going to do whatever it takes to buy that apartment complex, however many doors it may be. I don't care if it's 12 doors, 24 doors, 50 doors, and I'm going to sit on that thing for a little while and sit on that asset and let it make me some more income. And then when the market gets better, it goes up in value. I have access to equity, potentially repeat the process again or sell it. I am prepping myself in this marketplace so that my financial future looks bright. I cannot wait to, we shouldn't wait to see whether we're going to pay taxes or not. We shouldn't wait to see if IRS is going to, not IRS, if Social Security is going to be available to us or not. The only people that are going to save you or bail you out or have you prepared financially for your future is the person you see when you see in the mirror, of course, if no one is standing behind you. It is you. We have to take necessary actions to prepare ourselves for our financial futures. The onus is on us. We can't blame someone else. We can't look at someone else. We can't point at who's in office and who's not, because pointing and blaming is only going to get us so far. Take action. No matter who's in office, no matter what they're doing, whether you like them, whether you don't like them, whether it's your favorite color, whether it's not your favorite color, whatever, we still have to take action. We still have to take the necessary responsibilities that it requires of us in our abilities. And if there's things you don't know, do your homework, do your research, go pay for coaching, go pay for classes, good classes, of course, proven people that have shown success in those environments. Make sure you go do your homework, get coaching, get guidance, financial advisors, whatever it takes to get in the right direction. And don't be afraid to call an audible and say, I made a decision over here, but based on the education that I have now, I'm going to make an adjustment. You don't have to stay tunnel vision, stuck with one mindset. I like to be creative financially, which is why I have a good, well-rounded understanding of certain strategies in the financial world and how to use different financial vehicles. Because I will call an audible real quick if it makes sense. I'm calling an audible, whether like Brady, Rodgers, or whoever your favorite quarterback is. I'm making adjustments financially every time to do what's best for me and my family. So anyway, you all, appreciate you for tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training. If you haven't subscribed, go subscribe to the YouTube channel and watch these videos back as many times as you need to. And you all have a blessed Saturday.